Yo, what's up everyone, my name is Jett. Welcome back to episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. As you can tell, I'm in a different area. It won't be for a couple of weeks. By April, everything will be back to normal. But yeah, let's discuss everything that happened at Phoenix, the fifth race, I believe, of the fifth or fourth race of the 2024 season. And the first race of this new updated package that NASCAR is trying out with the short tracks with this new next-gen car. And it left me with a lot of questions, not only with this race, the future of the short track package, but also how the season will unfold. The first we need to talk about is Toyota. Wow, have they dominated this race. Just to give you an idea on how incredible Toyota was in this race. They led 298 of 312 laps. That's what, 14, 15 laps Toyota did not lead between 6 different leaders. The only driver that led laps that wasn't a Toyota driver was Todd Gilliland. Other than that, it was Christopher Bell, Ty Gibbs, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, and Tyler Reddick. It first started with Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs and Denny Hamlin, they were up front. Ty Gibbs took the lead and really had not much of a challenge. He did have Eric Jones near the mid portion of the race put up a fight, but wasn't able to complete it. But then Tyler Reddick, very late in the race, started to get a good run in the final laps, final run. But it was Tyler Reddick, kind of similar to what we saw last weekend at Vegas, had the long run car. Reddick just waiting in the wings, and as the run got longer and longer, he started to come to life, made his way up towards the front, was able to catch Ty Gibbs and pass him with around 8 or so laps to go to win stage 1. Stage 2 began with Denny Hamlin taking over as the race leader because Ty Gibbs and Eric Jones had issues on pit road. But then after a pit cycle, Hamlin had a bit of a hiccup with Daniel Suarez, cost him a little bit of time. That allowed Tyler Reddick, who started a bit further back, to catch up to Hamlin a lot closer than what Hamlin wanted to. Hamlin tried his best to hold off Reddick, wasn't able to do so. Reddick took the lead. But in the meantime, when that was going on, the guy that everyone was looking out for was Christopher Bell. Now, Christopher Bell started in 13th place and at first seemed to be a guy that had some speed, maybe top 5 or so car, but it was around stage 2. Once Hamlin took the lead after pit stops were completed, or I should say once Hamlin and Reddick were having their battle after pit stops completed, was when we saw Bell just charge up towards the front. He had a setup like none other. Nobody could catch him. Nobody could stop him. Blew by the 45 and the 11 car like it was nothing. Takes the lead, wins stage 2. I mean, he was running 2-3 tenths faster than the two drivers near the second half of stage number 2. He just had a car that nobody could compete with, kind of like with Larson last weekend at Vegas. But then we had some interesting moments that happened in stage 3. This is when we just had caution for caution for caution for caution. So Christopher Bell had a bad stop. He started back in 8th place. That had Hamlin and Reddick once again start 1st and 2nd. And then we just saw an onslaught of cautions. Kyle Busch spun off of turns 1 and 2. He brought out the caution. Then the next restart on lap 106, John Hunter Nemechek decided to say F it and just bulldoze Joey Logano, sends him sideways, collecting involved 2 Spire Motorsports drivers in Corey LaJoie and Zane Smith, as well as colleague driver Derek Kraus. Then in the next restart, you then see the 19 car of Truex. He starts to show some life. He was in a 3-way battle between him, Hamlin, and Reddick, but was settling in 3rd. Hamlin was able to challenge Reddick for a little bit, was able to get side by side with him with once again in turns 1 and 2. Hamlin lost it, spins it around, doesn't hit anything nor anybody, and brings out what would be the final caution. And then we saw some very weird strategy from Truex and Priest. They stay out. They don't pit, they stay out. Now, Truex was able to lead a lot of laps. I think he led 53 or 55 some odd laps in this race, but he was way too short on fuel. And on top of that, they're asking him to have double the lifespan of the tires and what the usual expected lifespan is. So it was impossible that Truex was going to win the race. He needed a caution, wasn't able to get it. So with 40 laps to go, he comes into the pits, as well as Priest and others that stayed out. That gives the lead to Christopher Bell, who in the meantime was work his way up towards the front, had the fastest car. Nobody could catch him. He will go on to lead 50 I should say, of the 312 laps to win for the 7th time in his Cup Series career, and his first win at Phoenix, and his first win since Homestead last fall. Here's a look at the race results here. Christopher Bell wins. Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski Racing, RFK drivers, with a great run in 2nd and 4th. Sandwich in the middle is Ty Gibbs. Once again, another strong run for that 54 team. Ryan Blaney in 5th. Ross Chastain, they had a good battle for 5th place right up until the very end. Martin Truex Jr., though, he does rebound for a top 10 finish, but I mean, who knows what could have been if he had pitted when that caution came out. Michael McDowell and Chase Briscoe, good run for those two drivers in 8th and 9th, and Tyler Reddick and Denny Hamlin 10th and 11th. Hamlin rebounds from that spin earlier in the race. Noah Gragson, good run for him in 12th place after starting in 7th. Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, quiet 14th place finish for him, and Carson Hocevar, another good solid weekend, started 10th, finishes in 15th. Bubba Wallace finishes in 16th. He was up to 5th place on the final restart, but him and Eric Jones made contact. That sent both of them to the back. Todd Gilliland, William Byron, Chase Elliott, and Alex Bowman, the HMS drivers, 18th, 19th, and 20th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 21st. Kyle Busch, an abysmal weekend for him, started 31st, finishes in 22nd. Ryan Preece, Justin Haley, John Hunter Nemechek, Josh Berry, Harrison Byrne, Daniel Hemrick, Zane Smith, and Kaz Grala, the top 30. Right out the field is Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, who was caught up in a crash, I believe, on around lap 5, where Derek Kraus lost in turn 2, collecting Austin Dillon as well as Cindric. And then Corey LaJoie, Joey Logano, Derek Kraus, and Cindric finishes in dead last. So, what are my thoughts on this race? Let's first talk about the package. Did it make any difference? I say it made around maybe 8-10% of a difference in a positive way. I don't think it made that much of a difference, where unless you have a very keen eye, you would notice. We did see some battles. There were some battles. I mean, I'm not going to say this was a horrible race. I thought for Phoenix standards, this was fine. Was it the most entertaining Phoenix race? God, no. But was it the worst race? No. It was just nice. It was fine, but I do think we still need a lot more work with this next-gen package. Now, this package won't be in use next weekend at Bristol, so we'll see how that goes. And I understand that Phoenix, just in general, Phoenix is just a mid-track. It's not a track where you expect incredible racing. That's something we just have to accept. So we have to lower our standards a little bit. But I still felt that this race still had its issues. It was still very tough to pass unless your name is Christopher Bell. I mean, his car was just lights out. And I feel like with Truex and Hamlin, because they pitted later, I mean, they had much fresher tires than the rest of the field, so it was a lot easier for them to go up through the field. But some of the other drivers that had just maybe 10 or so laps fresher tires weren't able to get past. I also noticed that with Truex, he had older tires than, Reddick or a Bell, and he was still able to maintain that gap. Between Truex and Bell wasn't that much of a difference in terms of Bell wasn't just eating away at Truex's lead. He was gaining, but it was very little, which shows that track position is still extremely OP. Dirty air is still a pain in the ass. But although I thought it was an improvement, it was a very, very small improvement. And I still think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Again, I don't think this race was horrible. I just thought this race was fine for Phoenix standards. If you were to bring this to any other racetrack, this would have been horrible. But for Phoenix standards, I thought this was fine. Now, let's talk about some of the drivers. Christopher Bell. Man, that 20 car. I think it's about time. Christopher Bell is the future of Joey Gibbs Racing. Whether it's set in stone or not, if it hasn't been, it's now. Bell is the future of Joey Gibbs Racing. I mean, that 20 car, ever since we went to the next gen car, that 20 car has just been always there. Either in knockout wins, like what we saw at the Roval or Phoenix or Martinsville 2 years ago, or making it to the championship for it last year, that 20 car is always there, and Bell just gets better and better and better. Another driver is Ty Gibbs. Once again, I have my issues with Ty, but you cannot deny that this kid has got talent. And again, he just keeps logging laps and gets better and better and better. He had a great car today, coming home in 3rd place. That he is due for a win. He will win in 2024. He has to. I mean, he has way too much talent, has been up front too many times for him to not go to victory lane yet. He will win a race this year. So, and that's scary for the competition when you consider the fact that Toyota came out with this new car, this new Camry, 4 races in, and the championship track. We go back there in November, and they killed everyone. Like I said, 298 of 312 laps they led. A Toyota driver led. I mean, that's incredible. And that is scary if you're a Chevy or a Ford driver heading into the championship race later on in November. So to see how that Toyota car and the Toyota teams have developed with this new car already this early in the season, I think says a lot about how dominant they can be later on to the year, especially in the playoffs and especially in the championship 4. If you're Ford, you got some work to do. I mean, I did mention that they did have some good runs. I mean, RFK drivers Buscher and Keselowski finished second and fourth, I believe. Briscoe finishing in ninth place, as well as McDowell in eighth, but not to the level of Toyota and Chevrolet. Especially, let's talk about Hendrick. Wow, were they non-existent? I mean, actually, let me change that. Elliott did have a good run. At the first half or so of the race, he had a good car, top 5 car or so. But then, I don't know what happened, but they were just non-existent. I mentioned the results. I mean, was it 18th, 19th, 20th? And I think Byron was, 13th or 14th place. Absolutely just off day for HMS. Off day for RCR. I mean, they were horrible. Qualified 30th and 31st. Dillon crashes on lap 5, and then Busch just was not here, and then he spun out late in the race. I mean, bad day in the week if you're a Chevy driver, especially HMS and RCR, because they were just non-existent. But I will say, Stewart-Haas Racing, I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm confident that they're gonna do something magical this year, but they have been slowly building. Noah Gragson, he didn't finish out in the top 10, but he was in the top 10 a good amount in this race. Briscoe, like I said, coming home in ninth. That SHR team, except for Josh Berry, even Priest, he showed something near the end of the race. But the 10 and the 14, they have been working on something these last couple weeks, and who knows, maybe could lead to something down the road as we get into the summer portion of the season. But overall, I would give this race, like I said, a 6 out of 10. It wasn't the best Phoenix race, wasn't the worst. For Phoenix standards, I thought it was fine, but we still need some work to do with this next-gen package. I understand, you're not going to have a tremendous package unless you go to the 550 package. You're not going to see something tremendous, you're not going to see a complete 180. I understand, it's baby steps, but in my eyes, I felt that this wasn't even a baby step. This was like a half crawl a type of step for this next gen package. But those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts on this race? Let me know in the comment section down below. Did you like it? Did you not? Until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Congratulations to Christopher Bell, your winner at Phoenix, and I'll see y'all next time.